Hey, welcome in everybody. This is Julie Maxon, the main stamper. I am here for your Monday card class, your weekly card class for Maine. That's what I like to call this time that we spend together. It's about an hour long, this 8 to 9 o'clock class. And we're doing pumpkins today. So we're going with the pick of the patch. The Stampin' Up bundle has a stamp set and a coordinating punch. There's a lot to this class. It's amazing. I'm going to show you some different color versions of pumpkins. This class has 0 orange pumpkins and 0 black in it at all. There is nothing orange and black about this class. We're using a lot of different colors. We're going to be creative in a lot of different ways to make our pumpkins, because pumpkins can be more than orange, and Halloween cards should be more than orange and black. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with color. We are going to be talking about ways to use the builder punch. So of course there's always different ways to use builder punches. And we're also going to be talking about vellum and a way to adhere vellum, and that's creative, that's going to hide the vellum glue or the tape or whatever it is that you're using to adhere vellum, because I know sometimes vellum can be a challenge. So our last card does have vellum on it. Our last card's always the fanciest card. I'm going to show you, these are the cards we're making. These are the backs of the cards we're making. Do you see orange or black here? There's like nothing orange or black here, right? We have Flirty Flamingo, very vanilla. This is vanilla, not white. And Cajun Craze. So we have some really pretty colors. Maybe they don't quite scream fall, but they are absolutely beautiful, gorgeous cards. I can assure you, I really like these cards. So, hi Linda. Linda's here. She loves the colors. I love the colors too. I love all the colors, right? Which is a great way to tell me to tell you guys to join me over on Positive Paper Crafters on Wednesday, because that's when I always do my color swap card. All right, so make sure you're saying hi as you jump on. I know people are slowly trickling in here. It is Monday night, 8 o'clock. We are going to transition over to my workspace and talk about pick of the patch. And again, I love to know who's watching, so please say hello. Don't be shy. And if you're on YouTube, say hi too. I love all my YouTube peoples over there. Hi, Patty. Glad to see you here today. So pick of the patch. As I mentioned, this is a photopolymer stamp set, and you might be thinking this is all Halloween, right? You're thinking it's pumpkins. There's a little crow in here. There's some leaves and a little stick tree. I'm calling this the Charlie Brown tree because I really feel like this could be a Charlie Brown tree. We've got a harvest of blessings. You're the pick of the patch. Happy Halloween, cutie pie, and thanks so much, right? So it looks very Halloween-y. You would obviously use the little face here in any of the jack-o'-lanterns if you wanted to. It wouldn't fit in all of them. I think it fits in 4 of them. And we have a coordinating punch. So I love the builder punches. So this is the back side. This is the front side. And I show you the back side because it's usually easier to see what's in the builder punch. So you've got 2 pumpkin shapes, which are actually the 2 biggest pumpkins in your stamp set. So these ones, you would have to fussy cut those, which would not be hard if you wanted to get these ones to be punched or die cut without the punch or the die cut, right? We also have this little leaf right here, so you can see it right here. This little leaf can be die cut, but not this one. So again, you'd fussy cut that one. And then it's this little stem right here. You can stamp and punch that as well. So there we have it. So there's a look at the pick of the patch, the builder punch, and the little pumpkin stamp set. Now again, you can bundle this, save 10%, or you can just get the punch if you want. You can just get the stamps if you want. That's the beauty of the Stampin' Up with the pick of the patch. I'm just checking messages real quickly. Hi, Mary. Oh, that's awesome. Deb's got to go and watch an important football game tonight. Hi, Sarah. This is a really cute bundle. Well, good luck, Buffalo Bills fans out there. So pick of the patch. This is always on replay too. Don't forget, replay is awesome. If you want the card class this week, you put in a $35 order. You're going to get 6 card kits. Here's our card kits, in case you're wondering, what do our card kits look like? This is what they're full of. They're full of well, you get 2 card bases, 2 envelopes. You get things that are die cut and punched. You get some embossed pieces. You get some vellum. You get all kinds of fancy stuff in these card kits. And the $50 order is going to get you this week. This is the Calypso Coral. It's called Braided Linen Trim. So it's obviously a lot thicker than the linen thread. It's a little bit different from the baker's twine. It's a little bit more bulky. I made a lot of bows with this, and there's a lot of beautiful ribbon here. Now this obviously isn't necessarily fall. This is Calypso Coral. I don't think Calypso Coral is the pumpkin pie of fall, right? So Calypso is a little bit, it can be summery, it can be springy. So you're going to get great value using all of this twine that you're going to get with your $50 order using host code VFW9HJKE. This offer is good through Friday, 9/15, end of day. So that is what I'm offering for this week, because I like to offer all of the things, right? Now, as I'm using the twine today, I'm also going to be using embellishments. Now, in your card kits, I'm not sending embellishments. You can use whatever embellishments you have at home. If you get these kits and you love them, you'll have the twine. That's your free gift. And then you can substitute in any embellishments. I'm using Basic Jewels for one of the cards. These are the 2325 in colors for one of them, and I'm using the Iridescent Pastel Gems for another. So obviously grab whatever supplies you have, and it's going to be super amazing. So this again is the punch. Now this is my little sampler. So anytime I have a builder punch, I grab a piece of white cardstock, and you can see I put it in the top here like so, right? And I punched this out. So I have a little sampler. Now this is a template that you can use to mount your stamps if you want to stamp everything at once and punch everything at once, but that's not always the case. So we're going to talk about 2 different ways to use this today as we get into our card class. And let's get into our very first card. We're going to go with, oh, beautiful colors. Look at this array of colors. This is what we're using in our class tonight. Calypso Coral, Old Olive, Flirty Flamingo, Copper Clay, Crushed Curry. This is Petal Pink. It's just really faded. And I have Cajun Craze here. So these are the colors we're using. There's no orange, no pumpkin, and there's no black, right? There's not even espresso here. We're going kind of, I don't know, these are going to be really sweet cards. So here is card number 1 without further ado. And this is Cutie Pie card, right? So this is Flirty Flamingo, Calypso Coral. We have a little bit of Old Olive in here. And just a really cute, fun play on a card that you can make. And it doesn't have to be Halloween, right? It can be fall. I think it just screams girly girl card, right? So this is what you're getting in your kit. We're going to look through them, and we're going to put one together here of each kit tonight. So you're getting 2 card bases. That's Flirty Flamingo, and I'm just going to separate out all of these parts and pieces and put one together with you here, so you can see, if you do get these card kits at home, exactly what you're going to do with all of these little pieces of cardstock and whatnot. Now this is a die, so that is die cut for you. And now I've lost track. My goodness, there's a lot of parts and pieces. I have a hard time making very simple card kits. I just like to add more and more and more, and I love the layers. So when I'm very generous with my card kits. These are not, while I say they're not simple, they're really simple to use. And of course, you don't have to even use all of the parts and pieces. It's just a matter of layering. The beauty here is that everything is done for you. You're going to get PDF directions as well. So you're going to know exactly what you need to do to make this card if you want to. Now you can always substitute in other items as well. So maybe you're gonna not use pumpkins. This could be really cute with flowers, right? These colors are fantastic. You could make a card instead of pumpkins, substitute in some flowers right up here along the top, a different little sentiment, and it's still gonna be an adorable little card, right? This one is Calypso Coral, Old Olive, and Flirty. Those are the 3 colors we're going to use for this card. Now, as I mentioned, this is die cut for you. I will be doing that ahead as it comes to you, and I'm looking to see what dies did I use for this one, because I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Stitched with Whimsy. These are the Stitched with Whimsy dies. And I want to point out that these dies, lots of different little rectangles and squares, they do not die cut out, they just stitch through. So when I put this on top of the white paper, it just leaves the indentations and it looks like stitching, which I think is adorable. So it will not cut out a shape, so the shape doesn't get cut out. We save these shapes for our stitched rectangles, which I'll be using in another card. I'm really a big fan of all that kind of rectangular stuff. So let me see if I can find all of my little stamps that I have set aside here. I have a lot from the Pick of the Patch stamp set out on my desk tonight. We're using a lot of them. So we're going to start with Flirty Flamingo, and this little, actually this is probably meant to be a vine, right? So these little vine pieces right here are super cute, but we're going to stamp them here on our card, and we're going to stamp off. So I'm going to stamp off over here. I've got a scrap paper, and I'm just going to stamp. Oh, that didn't stamp very darkly at all. I might have to restamp that one. So we're going to try this again. I'm going to kind of go right over top of it. There we go. That's a little bit better. So stamping off, and then I'm just doing, I feel like there's dog hair on my stamp. distractions in the craft room today. So I'm just doing a little bit of stamping here on the top and the bottom opposite corners, just for a little bit of interest. You can just see them on the card, which kind of makes it fun because it's not super noticeable, but you're like, there's something there. It's not just white paper at this point. All right, let's talk about our cutie pie and our pumpkins. So here's where you're going to be working with your pumpkins on this nice piece of white cardstock that I'm going to send, and we're going to get out our punch because we're going to make a whole bunch of pumpkins here, and we are using the two that coordinate with the punch, so they are the two biggest. I have them mounted individually, so I'm not taking advantage yet of the stencil that I have for my punch. I'm just using these individually right now. So I chose Calypso Coral and Flirty Flamingo, and I have solid pumpkin, so first generation ink, and then I have stamped off ink for each of these. So we're going to start with the big one here, in which I have Flirty open, so we're going to do Flirty first. So we're going to stamp this just like so, and we're going to get a full image, and I'm going to stamp one. Nope, I'm not going to stamp one. I'm just going to do them one at a time here. We're not going to get too crazy. Now you're going to see that I'm coming down this way with my paper, and I'm coming this way on purpose because I don't want to just put all of this paper in and waste all that space, right? So here is a full stamp with the Flirty, really pretty. Now I'm going to trim my paper so you can see that it did cut out this little stem, but I don't need it. So I'm just going to trim that away. Now I do want one of these same pumpkins, but I want it stamped off. Now if you were doing this at home and you wanted to use the full ink on your envelope or the inside of your card, that would be awesome. I'm just stamping on a scrap for right now. And I've got a stamped off version so you can see how much lighter it is. It just adds a lot of interest to the card if they're all different colors, but in the same color tone, right? So I'm going to go ahead and punch this one out. So now I have my big pumpkins. And now we're going to work from the top, and we're going to come this way into our punch. I can find the pumpkin here. So this is the pumpkin. So we're going to stamp from the top and come up this way now. So this is the handle. This is what you're going to hold on to so that you have a nice gripping there of the that handle. So I think I did these a little bit opposite, but we're going to go with our colors today. So I'm going to do the Calypso Coral now. So as mentioned again, I'm going to do the top right here, and then I'm going to slide this in this way and line up the stamped image with my punch and go ahead and punch that out. And here's that one, and then we're going to trim this. It's just easier to have a little bit of a flat area. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp this one off. So again, you could stamp that one on the inside of your card or on your envelope. And here we go. We've got our stamped off version. This one's going to come in through here. We're going to line it up and punch it. So you can see that the paper that I sent you was the perfect size because this is all we have left besides what we trimmed away. So I very carefully measure out paper to know exactly what you're going to need so you can do this at home and have the same results, right? So we have a dark pumpkin, a light pumpkin. We've got, you know, these are different color pumpkins. We've got Flirty and the Calypso. And you can mix them up a little bit because I think as I look at my card, I did a solid, let's see, I did a solid Calypso, a solid Flirty, 2 different sizes, and then I did the stamped off ones in 2 different sizes. So I mixed them up a little bit. So you can mix and match. Obviously, if you're using different colors of ink, maybe you want orange pumpkins. Who out there who's ready for orange pumpkins? Are you guys ready for orange pumpkins? I was just like, I don't know if I'm quite ready for orange pumpkins yet. So I decided to make, you know, kind of non-traditional pumpkins here. All right, let me set a few of these aside. We're still going to do a little bit more stamping, and we have more stuff to do. So let me grab out some more papers here. These are what we're going to need next. So all these little strips of white here, right? This one obviously is flagged, and I flagged another, this is a punch, the banner punch, so I flagged the old olive as well. So we're going to stamp our sentiment. Cutie Pie fits so cutely on this little white right here. So let's stamp up Cutie Pie. So we have our sentiment ready to go. Now I'm going to leave this a little bit closer to the flagged end so I have room to put my ribbon on there as well. Okay, now we're going to get into the old olive because we do need to do some old olive. And you're going to see here that I have 2 more white pieces of cardstock that are a little bit unanswered for. You're like, what are we doing with those? Let me see if I can find coordinating stamps here. I've got the stem and I've got the leaf. So we're going to stamp a couple of leaves. Now, the first thing I like to do as I'm doing this is I look at my punch and I look at my paper and I see which way is going to orient. Sideways, long ways, like this. So this is going to work best this way. So if I stamp my leaves like this, and I need 2 of them, and I might just, you know, for the heck of it, just do an extra one. Now I know that as I pull this paper into my punch and I line up these little leaves right here, and then I've got this little handle. I gave you enough paper here to have a nice little handle that you will always be able to grip something as it's going through. And then if you need to, you grab the other side and continue. You can actually probably get 4 leaves off of this paper that I'm going to send you. That's 3. So there's 3 little green leaves, and that's how I punch those out. And we still have 1 more scrap. We have this scrap right here. I'm trying to pick up the leaf that's already glued to my card because I've lost a leaf, and that's okay. That's why I actually did 3. I was trying to pick up this one and it wasn't coming off. I was like, what the heck? All right, so now we're going to talk about the stem. So same thing. I'm going to look at my paper and how it's going to go into my punch to know which way I want to orient my stem so that it's just the easiest way to go, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just do a couple of them here this way because I know that they're going to line up with my punch this way. And I'm going to go ahead and punch these little guys out real quick, and then we have all the parts and pieces for our very first card. And you have more paper, so if you want to just keep doing, oh, you know what, we need 4 of them. That's why that's why we have more paper. Julie, let's think about this. We're going to do a couple more because we're not done yet. We have 4 pumpkins. I was stuck on 2 leaves and thinking I needed 2 stems. Okay, math is hard today. It's Monday, right? Happy Monday, everybody. Okay, now we have 4 stems, and if I don't lose them, we still have 4 stems. So you're going to be able to get 4 stems out of that. You're not going to have to struggle with that punch for that particular application of getting those things taken care of. So now that we have all of our parts and pieces, we can go ahead and start assembling. So let's glue some things together. Sometimes I like to start with the bones of the card. You guys know I like to talk about the bones a little bit. So the bones of the card is basically, what do you have to work with that you can use any stamps you have at home and create a beautiful card, because all these pieces are cut for you, right? So I obviously stamped on this. If you didn't stamp on that, that would be okay. Not necessary, right? I think I need more. Yes, I do. I'm going to just grab that out. Dimensionals. I keep a little stash over top of my workspace here, so I was able to grab those quickly, which is really nice, right? I always feel like Clark Griswold looking in the attic for stuff when I'm scrambling overhead here while I'm actually doing a live and I'm reaching for, what do I have above my head that I can use really quickly? All right, so I'm going to put a whole bunch of dimensionals on here because I really want this to be popped up and fancy. So I'm just going to take all of these off now, and I'm going to center this onto our card base. I'm going to just make sure I know which way it's opening, right? We don't want to put anything on upside down. And then, speaking of upside down, which way do I like this to go best? I like this to go this way. This is going to center on here, so we've got Calypso, Coral, and Flirty. Really pretty colors. We're going to go ahead and glue together this gorgeous little piece of designer series paper. Now this is Flirty Flamingo. I was feeling the polka dots today, and here we go. Actually, I think I designed this one yesterday, so I was ahead of the game for a half a second. This right here is going to go on matching Flirty Flamingo cardstock, right? And then we're going to pop that right down here. And this is actually going to kind of come down here toward where my stamping ends for this particular bottom section. And we're going to just lay that right across. So that will fit perfectly across right there. Okay, so here's the bones of your card. Isn't that cute? I just think that's the cutest, right? I love that little bit of bones right there. I think is super sweet. All right, oh, we can glue this together too. So let's put our sentiment pieces together. And these will nest nicely. I've cut them just to the right size, right? So they will nest like so. We're going to want a couple dimensionals on the back of here too. So let me grab those out while we're being dimensionaled. And we're going to pop those on there. All right, now the pumpkins I did put on flat. So let's talk a little bit about our pumpkins and how we're going to put our leaves and our stems all together here. Now there's two ways you can do the stems. You can put the stems on the back or you can put the stems on the front. For this card, I have them on the front, and I wanted to show you two different ways during my class tonight so that way you could see maybe what's your favorite, right? So I'm just putting a little bit of glue on the top of each pumpkin and putting the stems on. And okay, take your pick tool, is super handy for all kinds of things. Use that putty end to pick up paper, not just embellishments, right? So if things get tricky, that putty end is amazing. Okay, so there's all my little pumpkins. Aren't they super cute? All the little, like, got their little stems on them, right? And now we're going to layer these on here. And this is where you just, you get to dry fit and play a little bit. So I like the shaded ones farther back, and I like the brighter ones toward the front. So, and if you feel like 4 is too many, you could do 3 pumpkins on here instead. Like, you could change it up. You could, make them a little bit up and down so they're not quite straight in a row. But there is where I'm going with my pumpkins. So I'm just going to pick these up and then glue down the bottom ones first. So that guy's going there. This guy's just going to come right over here. And he's kind of hanging off just a little bit. And then I'm going to put this one right here. Cute little pumpkins, right? I just think they're super sweet. Okay, there's the last one right there. So that's a nice little mix of the pinky orangey colors, right? Now we're going to sneak in our leaves. This one wasn't the most perfect stamped leaf, but I'm okay with that because I'm actually going to tuck it underneath this pumpkin just a little bit. Kind of sticking out this way. There you go, buddy. Hop on in there. Okay. And then I'm going to put this one on the front of this pumpkin. So just again, a little adhesive on here. And then, the leaves can go up or down. They can even be just used on a card anywhere, really. So there are the leaves tucked in. We're going to put on our little sentiment piece here next. And I have the dimensionals on here. So we're going to come right about here or so. Isn't that adorable? So far this is where we're at. Now we need to add some ribbon, which is right here. So I'm going to recommend a lot of ribbon for this one. We're actually making a double bow. I think I did 10 inches. I'm trying to remember now. I'm going to go with like 10 inches. Maybe I'm going to go with 12 inches. We're going to be generous with our ribbon because we're doing a double bow. And we're going to just put 2 lengths together at the same time and create this really fancy, cute little bow right there. Now we're going to keep them together. We're going to make a nice bow. And by having enough ribbon, we don't have to worry about, okay, we can adjust the ends a little bit here. Oh yeah, this is excellent. And then this is going to come on here. This might even be this is a bigger bow. So I used 12 inches for this one. So this kind of shows you the difference here. This was probably 10 inches. It's a lot smaller, you can see, but I can tell you right now that it was easier to make a bigger bow. And I'm just going to attach this down with some tear and tape because it's going to hold really well. Now this is not an easy card to mail because this bow is really bulky. There's a very hefty knot in the middle. This twine is kind of on the bulky side. It's not real squishy, right? So but it is beautiful. And we're going to pop it on here kind of off to the side a little bit, just like that. Cutie pie, right? So this is probably, whether you put it in a bigger padded envelope to mail it, and obviously that would be more postage, or this could be one that you hand to somebody, hand deliver, which is always probably the best way to go with handmade cards if you can, because that way they're not getting squished and ruined in the mail. I thought I had a gem on there and I didn't. Okay, we're going to come down here we're going to come over this way a little bit. My bow is so much bigger now. We're going to bring our bling into different areas this time. I'm going to come right about here, I think. So there we go. And again, these are just the rhinestone basic jewels. These are not part of the card kit. The ribbon is. So you'll be able to use the ribbon. And how cute are those, right? Just really sweet little cards, I think. Definitely pumpkin, but not necessarily, right? We're not going jack-o'-lanterns yet. I think I put in the description of this video, this is not a jack-o'-lantern class. This is just a pumpkin class. Now, if you wanted to, of course, you could make these into jack-o'-lanterns. They'd be really cute. But this is, instead, we're doing something a little bit different. Okay, very good. So I'm just making sure we're still live and rolling, and that is excellent. We've got that card done. We're going to move into our next card. So here's our next card kit. And this card is going to feature Calypso Coral. Calypso Coral is a very popular color. Now, it's not orange, but we are using Calypso again. We're going to use copper clay and crushed curry. So I'm just grabbing out the colors that I need. So you can see here a really nice fall color palette, but not orange, right? It's that soft. I like Calypso because it's a softer color. It's a softer orange. So for this card kit, we have a very, very vanilla base. I'm going the wrong way. You get 2 envelopes, 2 of the card bases, and I'm going to grab out mine right now that I have ready to go. You're getting some punched pieces. This is the double scallop oval punch, very popular. I love it. I've got some die cut deckled rectangles here, so you're getting those. You get a little bit of designer series paper. More Calypso Coral. You're getting, this is vanilla. This is, again, it's embossed for you. This is the Timber 3D embossing folder. And we have crushed curry for this one. So those are the parts and pieces for this particular kit. So let's take a look at our card. We haven't looked at our card yet, right? This one is super sweet and pumpkin free. In case you're like, what, pumpkins? Okay, no, this is a pumpkin free card. But I thought this was really cute. So we're using our Charlie Brown tree and we're using the leaves. Super sweet, right? And it's a fall-ish card. We've got the oranges and the yellows and the browns in here, a little bit of our ribbon here as well. And just this one is super sweet and simple. So we're going to go ahead and put this together. Let's talk about our bones again. We've got the vanilla card base. Let's bring out a scrap here, if I can. And we're going to bring in crushed curry and a blending brush. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to doctor up our paper here that is already embossed, and we're going to start right here in the middle. We don't have to even go off because we're going to be covering the middle with all kinds of layers. So we can just start right here in the middle and start dark and kind of go up and down. Okay, so just kind of, we're creating the nice little yellow halo here in the middle. So darker in the middle is fine, because we're going to cover it, and I just want it to be light. So it's obviously very light here on the top and bottom. Once we cover up a whole bunch of things, it's good to go. We won't even know it's there. So we're going to go ahead and glue this. We're going to glue our bones together first here before we do the rest of the stamping. So we're going to put the embossed piece right on top of the crushed curry. Again, lots of layers, which is fantastic. I'm going to flip this over and press from the back. When you have the embossed pieces, just remember that the adhesive has to fill in nooks and crannies, right? It's not just a flat piece anymore. Now it's got to fill in some highs and lows. So I like to rub it from the back and just make sure that that's good to go. We have this beautiful little almost dotted paper, and after I made this, I made the first card with the little pink dots, right? And then I found orange dots. And I made this card, and I looked at the 2 cards together and I went, oh my goodness, I am in a dotty mood, because here I have 2 cards that have like little dot features on them. So I made sure when I did my last card, I did not use polka dots, right? So I'm going to just kind of use this as a pattern here to see how far up did I want that to go. Now you're going to make 2 cards at home. So when you get these card kits, you can kind of line them, you can decide how they go and then line them up and make them exactly the same, or you can change them up. That could be even more fun, because then you would have really 6 different cards, because they would be a little bit different from the one you did before. All right, so here we go. The bones of your card right here. And of course you've got pieces right here that you can stamp on, and you've got sentiment piece right here. So this is the bones right here. What you're looking at is whatever you want to stamp and use for a sentiment and then embellish. This is your card, right? So we're going to use these 2 for stamping, and we're actually going to burnish down the sides here with some, if I can find the right one, this one right here, copper clay. So handy hint, I like to use, these are little just plastic bathroom like cups. They're not quite, I don't think they're Dixie cups, but they're little plastic cups. I use these to hold my sponge daubers. I will even use them during classes, and I'll throw the blender brushes in them so that the ink, because everything's so inky, right? So the ink doesn't get everywhere on the table as people pass them around, or even in my craft room as I pass them around. Now, when I'm done with these, I can wipe them with a baby wipe and set them, I keep them. I have like a whole stack of them. So I grab them out as needed. So if there's a little bit of ink in here, which there usually is from the dauber or the brush, I'll use a baby wipe, wipe it out, let it dry, and then I stack them. And these are like the handiest things to keep your ink a little bit more contained. I absolutely love little tricks like that that help you, you know, in any way in the craft room, right? There's nothing worse than having out your daubers and your blender brushes and a lot of paper. Because when I craft, I have paper everywhere. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it's a common thing, right? We get something out, and we get something out, and we get something else out, and we get another thing out, and we have paper stacks everywhere. Now, if you've got these little guys rolling around on your desk, you're probably going to end up getting ink maybe where you don't want it on something. So while we were chit-chatting, I went ahead and added the like color ink with my little dauber onto that particular, oh, I can leave this out, onto that, these two cardstock, and it just really helps to make it bolder and really stands out. So Charlie Brown tree, how cute is this? Now I'm thinking this could be a classic Charlie Brown tree. All we need is a little, like a little bauble, right? A little red ball hanging off one of the top thing here, because it kind of droops over a little bit. Maybe a few pine needles. You could probably use a marker to color in. And then I think at the bottom, Linus had his blue blanket. So I'm just thinking you may see this from me in the future as a Charlie Brown tree, because I just think that's a really sweet idea. Now for this card, I use Thanks So Much. So this is a really great classic fall card, which I know it's the season of, we're starting the season, right? The season to be grateful and thankful, all of that good stuff. I am taking September as a nice month to send out a lot of cards. I'm trying to send out a card a day to make this just a really great month to share gratitude. And I know that some of you are doing the same, because I see your messages and I see your little posts as well, where you are also creating some cards, and just the just because card or the thank you card, right? That just surprises someone as happy mail. There's nothing better than that. Now we are going to use this little leaf stamp. This is really cute. So this little trio of leaves is just one stamp. So you can see it right here. There's 3 leaves on one. And we are going to, actually I'm going to put this away because we're done with this color. We're going to bring in the crushed curry first, and then we're going to add in some Calypso next. So there's only one of these, so you have to be careful about how you're doing it. Now I was able to very carefully arrange this so I could get the biggest leaf here on the top of this little stick branch. You could probably do it on any of these really, and it kind of looks like they're falling. Now I'm going to create a pool at the bottom, a little puddle of leaves, and at first this is going to look really just odd. It's not even going to look good. I'm going to assure you this does not look good. So it's really hard to like stamp in, make it kind of a pile of leaves that looks cohesive without stamping over the same thing over and over. Okay, so there we got a pretty good pile of the yellow there, but watch and see what happens when I add in a little bit of the Calypso coral, because I'm going to tell you what, it's like a game changer. It just makes it so much better. So, and if you're doing this at home, which I didn't for this card, but you could add some red leaves as well, a little brown if you wanted to. Like you could get really creative with the leaves, right? And it's almost addicting. It's almost like you have to tell yourself to stop stamping leaves. Here we go. I think I'm going to stop right here. So here we go. We've got the Calypso coral in there as well, and just it's a really cute little pile of leaves. Now I realize there's no coral at the top, but it is just prettier with more colors in there, I believe. So we're going to go ahead and glue these 2 rectangles together. These again are deckled rectangle. I think they're called deckled rectangles. I keep calling them that, so I hope that's what they're called. I like them because they have just a rough little edge. It's almost like they look like they were torn. They're not completely angled straight. That's where I'm going with that. They're not angled completely straight. So we're going to bring in some dimensionals and pop it on the back of my little piece here. I'm going to do the 4, Actually, no, I'm going to do one in the middle too. And then on this one, I know I'm going to need one over here on the side that says much, right? So I'm going to put one right there. So here we go. We're going to add in our little dimensionals, and that's going to pop this up and over. I like using dimensionals, especially when I use ribbon and even bling, because the ribbon and bling are higher than the levels of the card. So right now, it's just a flat. There's nothing dimensional down here. But once I put the ribbon on, if I have something that's dimensional, I feel like it kind of is more cohesive that way, since the ribbon is also going to be, obviously it's got some dimension to it, right? I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive on one half of my sentiment piece, and then the side with the dimensional is going to come over here. So I just have to decide where exactly I want this to go on here. Don't want to cover up my tree. There we go. Thanks so much. And we're going to cut a little bit of ribbon, and we're going to make a nice little bow. I think maybe about 9 inches would be good. There's nothing better than having a whole bolt of ribbon at your disposal, I have to say. It's way better than getting like 9 inches of ribbon cut and sent in a card kit, because then you're like, oh man, I hope I can make this ribbon work. What if I mess it up? I don't have any more ribbon, right? You have the whole bolt. You have a little bit more freedom to make something bigger, make something smaller. You can adjust however you want. I'm going to just trim the smidgen off of there. Now, because this is a smaller little bow, it's not like our double bow from our first card. I'm just going to use a glue dot in the center of the knot on the back, and that should be enough to stick that down on there, make a few adjustments. It's super cute. Thanks so much. Look at how sweet that is. I love that. So I did add, again, some bling. Now the bling is not coming part of the kits this time. I just added bling because I felt like I wanted more on these cards. It was a more kind of week to like craft. So I have the 2023, 2025 in color dots. So this color right here is actually wild wheat, and it looks so yellow or so gold, right? So I just took, actually I think it's easier to hold this little plastic sheet up and then use your spatula. And I feel like there's another dog hair here. Fun fact, I just bought a vacuum cleaner for my craft room, like a little vacuum cleaner. It's like basically a glorified dustbuster with a cord, so it's electric, and it was like $40, and I'm like, it's blue, so it matches my craft room, which I think is genius, and it's going to make me want to use it, right? So I will be cleaning up some dog hair soon. Maybe I'll have less dog hair as I'm crafting. But here we go. Here's card number 2. How cute and sweet. So now these wild wheat embellishments look beautiful with the crushed curry, and I just think they work perfectly. So that's our second card, our little Charlie Brown tree. No pumpkins on this card, but fall. We have a little bit of a fall vibe going on there. So that is card number 2. Let me just clean this up real quick, and we will be hopping into card number 3 before you know it. Now, if you have any questions on any of the cards, any suggestions, I also love suggestions, right? Just to see what you guys are doing. Hi, Michelle. Better late than never. Mary likes the card. Yes, the bigger bow is awesome. Thanks, Jess. I love it. I love to see your comments as I'm going along too. Now I do need to clean up my little pumpkins from our first card because we're going to be using them on our last card. So let me just grab out my cleaner here. Now this card is going to be so fabulous. I usually save the most fabulous card for last because it's just fun that way, right? It's like the grand finale. So here we go. This one, again, no orange and no black. This is just really elegant. This actually could be a Thanksgiving card, I think. Now I did take advantage of the circle punches. We've got the 2 3/8 and a 2-inch circle punch. We've got this is Cajun Craze. I'm sorry, Cajun Craze and Flirty Flamingo. And what's fun about this card? We've got a Cajun Craze card base. Ooh, that's like a tongue twister today. And then I've got an embossed piece here. Now last week in my class, I used the opposite embossing folders. So these are new embossing folders. They are in the mini catalog. I am looking, here it is. It's, and I don't think I have the paper out in front of me, but this one has the stripies on it, right? And I used it the long way. or the tall way, right? Depending on how it's going on the card. I haven't showed you the card yet, but I used this one, and the last week when I did the Wild Wheat card, it had big circles in it. So you may remember I showed it to you. I said, oh, it's a set of 2. It's new in the catalog. It's really cute. Love this vellum. Now this vellum is cut extra long for our card, and there's a reason, because it's going to help us to adhere it. Now this has leaves on it, so you can kind of see, hopefully, the leafy pattern. We have some very vanilla, and we have some white, which is highly unusual to mix vanilla and white in a card. Like, I normally don't do this, but this is going to be awesome. Let me just grab out a couple more pieces here. There's always lots of pieces to show you, and I have a card base. Okay, so here we go. We're going to put together the most fabulous card. I hope you ooh and ah over this one. This is our card. It says A Harvest of Blessings, and we've got so much fun stuff going on with it. I absolutely love this card. You can see a little bit more Thanksgiving, right? But check out the pumpkins. I don't know if you can tell. They're kind of like a very vanilla pumpkin with a petal pink outer, and then I just did the stems. This is exciting. This card I just absolutely adore, so I'm going to just be really excited about this card. So you can see that we're doing this card in the landscape position. Let me bring it back in here. So it's going to open this way. So here's landscape. Now let me grab my scrap again. We'll put it on this side. So we'll bring our card in. I gotta know which way it opens. Okay, we're going to use this beautiful little leaf pattern that's on this pumpkin set, right? I mean, when I looked at this set at the first time I saw it, I'm like, pumpkins. It's all pumpkins. And then, no, as you look at it a little bit more, you're like, well, wait, there's leaves, there's a tree, there's the crow. You can make jack-o'-lanterns, right? There's all kinds of stuff going on here. So we're going to use this leaf, and we're going to create a beautiful top and bottom border on our card. So let me bring in Cajun Cray. So we're doing tone on tone, which is one of my favorite ways to do some stamping. And again, so my card opens this way. So this is the top. So we'll do the top first. And I'm just going to come through here, and I'm going to put some leaves down. I'm not trying to make them exactly the same every time. So I'm going to do a few a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but I am really trying to hit, you know, kind of like the top of the entire width of the card. Now we're going to do the bottom, and it's just easier to flip it this way and continue to do the same thing, right? So you're kind of coming down here, but you're pushing these leaves to the bottom this time. And if you didn't know which way was up, then it could be the top, right? But we already know this is the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of come across here again, same thing, creating a leaf that goes up and down just like that. Super simple. When we add all of our layers, we cover up some of it, so we only see a little bit of it, but it just looks really, really pretty. Like, so fantastic. Now we're going to clean this stamp up real quick, because we're going to do the same thing with our circle. Now I'm going to show you on the circle how I did that one. So we'll clean that off, and we're going to bring in the circle. So the circle is Flirty Flamingo. So these are great colors to have, again, kind of the orange tones without being like blatantly orange. This time I want Calypso Coral. We're doing, again, tone on tone. So this is really cool. This worked out perfectly. Now this is a 2-inch circle, in case you're wondering at home, right? So we're going to basically focus on putting the bottom of the stem here in about the middle. So we're just hitting the leaves here at the top, and now we're just going to rotate it, and we're just going to continue to put our leaves around. So just keep turning that clock, turning the O clock, focusing on getting, you know, the stems basically right here in the middle as you keep going around and around. And we're going to get one more on here. And this is what you've just created. So again, the stem's really focused in the middle there. And we're going to cover up a bunch of this too. So you're going to see here, this is just kind of how it's splayed out. Of course, it comes all the way around the bottom. Now, if one side looks better than the other, like this side right here, I didn't get the leaves quite to the outside, so I'd probably leave this side up, unless I think that side's prettier. I'm not even sure yet. But while I'm deciding that, what do we need? We need, this is Calypso Coral. So we're going to just go ahead and add some sponged ink here on the outside of the circle, because I am a fan of that too. So layers and sponging are like two of my favorite jams. Okay, so there is our circle. It looks better now, right? It looks a little bit more complete. So while that looks adorably beautiful, we're going to bring in, is this my copper? It is. Some of my daubers are labeled and some of them are not. This one says Cajun Craze. We want Cajun Craze. We don't want copper. Okay, I need to label all of them. I need to get my label maker out and finish making labels, or I can even just use a nice little marker, and I just put these little, there's just those little office labels. I just stick them around the dauber, and then I put the name on them, and they are only used for the coordinating inks, so that way I don't have to worry about what's what. All right, so we've got those two. They're sponged and beautiful. Now we are going to, while we've got this Cajun Craze out, we are going to work on our embossed piece. So this is going to be so awesome too. So we're going to bring in Cajun Craze blending brush. So when I have a big job, I like to use the blending brushes. And when I have smaller jobs, I like to use the daubers. So I use both. And I have the tools for each as well. So as you can see, I have a little label on my Cajun Craze blending brush too. So we're just going to come down through here and do the outside edges mostly, because we're not too worried about the inside. So you can really see how it deepens that just beautifully. And we're going to set that aside, and we're going to bring in the vellum. Now the vellum right now, right? I have ink all over my fingers, but the vellum it's almost two-sided. I mean, it looks like it's two-sided. One's a little bit fainter than the other side. We're going to bring in the Cajun Craze, and we're going to actually darken down our vellum. So we're going to work from the back. So whichever side you determine is the back is where you're going to just add ink, right? And it's okay if you put ink down and it's like really dark in one spot. The vellum's very forgiving, and it actually brushes out really nicely. And you don't have to cover it all completely either if you don't want to. But we're darkening down the back of the vellum. And I'm going to show you on this one especially why we're darkening the back of the vellum. So when I lift this up, of course I have ink right there because there's ink all over my fingers. When I put this on this layer, so there's ink on the back, you can see the leaves. You can still see the pattern, which is what you want to see. If I put this side up, it really doesn't look very pretty anymore, right? It looks better this way. Of course, we got smudges of ink everywhere too. And then while this ink is out and my fingers are really inky, let's bring in our sentiment. A harvest of blessings. We have a very little tiny sentiment piece here. Just perfect, right? So we got our harvest of blessings on there. I'll trim that up in a little bit. And we're going to finish putting some of the bones together, and then we're going to talk about the pumpkins. There's a lot to this one. This one's really extra fancy. I'm going to wipe my fingers real quick because I would like to not have so much ink here. Hi Janice. I love that you love these cards. They're very beautiful cards. Janice, you already have these cards set. This card kit is coming to you. It'll be mailed out next Monday, but Janice placed an order over the weekend, and I gave her the option. I said, Janice, do you want Martin Garden or do you want the pick of the patch card coming up? And she hadn't even seen these cards yet. She had no idea what they were going to be. And she's like, I want the pumpkin cards. I'm like, you picked wisely, my friend. You're going to have beautiful cards coming. I'm super excited for you. All right, so the vellum, you'll notice, is so much longer than the piece that it's going to layer against, and that is by Perfect Design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down here, and I have about, what is this, like maybe ½ an inch on either side, which is great because we're going to do some wrapping. But before we do the wrapping, we're also going to do some adhering. So let's do some adhering. I'm getting out of place here. I was so excited for Janice for a second that I was like, I couldn't even think where I was at. Okay, so we're adding some adhesive here, and then we're going to put this onto the Very Vanilla. We're just going to, it's the same length, but it gives you this pop of this nice creamy color and breaks up all of the same, you know, Cajun, right? So we're also going to glue together real quickly our circles. And this is where I have to decide which part of my circle do I want up. I think I want, it needs to be on the vellum. Just kidding. I think I want this side up, like right about there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue my circle down to the front of my vellum, right? So we know that my glue is acting wonky too. It's Monday. I'm blaming everything on Monday today. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and glue this down. Now this is on the vellum only, right? The vellum is still completely loose. See, the vellum is loose. I'm just using this to kind of line it up and eyeball it, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put adhesive where my circle is. Now we all know that trick, right? We know, like, okay, you hide the glue, the adhesive behind something that's going to cover over so you can't see. So you know there's no adhesive here, so it's not ugly with adhesive. But what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this. So I'm going to flip this over right now, and we're going to bring in some tape. So I got my Stampin' Seal here. So I'm just going to run a line right here on this end, and I run a line right here on this end. So much like you wrap a ribbon, we're actually going to wrap a vellum. So I'm just going to pull this back and secure it, and then pull this one back. Just want to grab it from underneath here a little bit. Just make sure it's coming up nicely and secure it just like that. And now my vellum is really secured. So it's secured in the back, but I didn't have to put any adhesive anywhere else. So you can wrap vellum to secure it, and it really works out nicely. All right, I'm just one more time making sure I know which way this is going to go. I'm going to bring in some more dimensionals here. And we're going to pop these on here. And I don't know how many I want yet. We're going to go with this many. Okay, this is a good amount. This will hold up this nice little section right here. I got the backing off of that one. Even looking at the back here where this beautiful inked up vellum is, I mean, like, that's just even pretty on the vanilla like that, right? On the front, obviously, it's a little bit different because we've got all of the Cajun on there as well. So I'm just kind of lining this up here side to side. It's the same length as my card base. And there we go. Here's the bones of your card right there, right? And we have some leftover pieces here. We still have leftover pieces because we still have things we're going to do. So for our sentiment, I'm just doing little angle cuts here. And that's done. For this little piece of Cajun Craze, we're going to bring in our punch. And we're going to punch just a couple of stems. And I'm not stamping them. You could stamp them if you wanted to. I'm just going to cut 2 of these because I'm going to have 2 pumpkins. You got leftovers here if you need more, right? So we've got 2 of those. Now let's talk about the pumpkins. We're going to make these pumpkins out of white cardstock. This is like the magic part of this class. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our embossing buddy first. I should have probably set up my stamps first. Let's pretend we're going to do our stamps first. So we have our template. So at the beginning of the class, I talked about punching a template out of any cardstock, really, just so that you have an idea of how these go together. Now, I used these individual pumpkins on my last card in different manner, right? So I did one at a time. So now we're going to just line up. So this is the back, this is the front. So this is where the ink would go here, right? The block would go here. We're just setting these up. Now, it's nice that they're already a little bit stained because probably you can see them in the camera here. So we're just putting these little, we're making like the stamps go into the stencil. Now this is the back part. So this is the part where my block would go on, right? And pick up my stamps. Now I have them mounted on here and they're in the same manner as this, which is really nice. I'm going to save that. So this is our white paper. We're going to go ahead and, actually before I do that, I want to make sure I'm going to stamp how I'm going to punch. So I'm going to line up my stamp this way and then punch it this way. So here we go. We are going to Embossing Buddy, and we're going to bring in Versamark and white embossing powder. Now you're like, white on white, what is happening here? Yes, this is actually happening here. Okay, you saw it here, kids. So we're going to just go ahead and ink up. I want to make sure I get a lot of Versamark on my pumpkins here. So I'm just going to be very generous. And then I'm going to put these on here. I'll go this way with it. Okay. Now I have, oh, there's like a slight tinge there on the stamps may not have been as clean as possible, but that's okay. The powder is going to cover that up a little bit. So I don't know if you can see that there's white powder on white paper, but it almost looks like the white powder is vanilla powder on white. A little bit different. Okay, let me grab out my heat tool here and get that going and find my tweezers. Looking for tweezers. Here they are. So the first thing we're going to do is heat emboss this white on white for something totally different. I would love to know in the comments if you've ever done any heat embossing like this before, where you're doing white on white. So our powder's getting set. I can see my bottom pumpkin is done. Now we're gonna do the top one here, over here. Get that all nice and waxy and shiny. Once it's waxy, shiny, and not dull, you don't see any powder anymore, you're good to go. So hopefully you can see that the white powder on my white paper, it's there, right? It's not super noticeable, but it's definitely there. So we're gonna bring in our punch. And because we've lined them up perfectly with our little stencil, right, I can do these two at the same time. That's the beauty of the builder punches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know, I think I come over a little bit this way. And then I'm like maybe down a little bit. Doesn't matter. We're good. Okay, we're punched. We punched it. We have these beautiful, almost ivory-like pumpkins, right? They're very classy, I think. So now we're going to bring in, what are we bringing in? We're bringing in, I've got a petal pink blender brush here. That's what we're bringing in next. Now when I did this last time, I keep my brushes, I don't clean them, so there's ink on them. So I just went ahead and used whatever little bit of ink was left in my brush. So again, it's not like a super dark application. Maybe it's a little bit lighter. So you may need to put a little bit of ink on your brush and then kind of, you know, go off of it a little bit. So I'm going to do both of these real quick and show you once we add in that little bit of petal pink. Now the petal pink is really only going on the outside edges and these little lines of the pumpkin, and that helps to make the pumpkin stand out, right? So that helps to show the white a little bit better, because now it has just a contrast, and I wanted just a hint of contrast. I didn't want super dark contrast, but there are our little, and this is how I got them on here, these little ivory looking pumpkins. Aren't they adorable? I just think super adorable. Now on my first card, I showed you how to put the little stems on the outside. This time we're going to do the inside. So actually they're going to be on the back, is what I mean to say. We're going to put these on the back. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue, bottom of each of the little stems, and then I'm going to put the pumpkin over top of the stem, and that way I can kind of control from the front what I'm seeing. So if I needed to shift it up or down, I'd be able to do that at this point. Okay, so now we can finish up this gorgeous card. I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of my pumpkins to give them even more emphasis here. And I'm just going to do, actually I probably should do one at a time. I'm going to do this one first, the big guy. Make sure you guys can see me here. All right, so this guy's going to come on over here, kind of on the circle, just like so. I'll put the embellishment for this one farther to the side so that I can kind of stack them over like so. I'm not adding any other adhesive. I'm not gluing this down to the embossed piece. I'm just putting one dimensional on there. That'll be fine. It's not going to go anywhere, right? It's not going to go through the windstorm on the way to somebody's house. So we should be good there. And then we're going to go ahead and put our Harvest of Blessings on here too. And that one I also used a couple of dimensionals here, like so. And I am going to add a little bit of glue on this one, just for good measure. Maybe there is a windstorm that I don't know about. We just have to be careful with our cards, right? They are made out of paper. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on here, perhaps about there. That looks pretty pretty. All right, now we're going to make a bow and add some bling. And isn't this card gorgeous? I love these colors. We're going to go with like 9 inches again, I think. And we're just, oh, I made a huge bow here. This is probably a lot more than 9 inches. All right, this will be a smaller bow. We'll see if we like huge bow or smaller bow, because this one is definitely going to be smaller bow. Yep, this is going to be smaller bow, and I need to trim just a little bit on this side. And again, we're going to bring in a glue dot for this bow because it is a smaller bow, not a big hefty one. Card number 1 had the big bow. All right, so here we go. I'm just kind of tucking this up in here underneath there. Super cute. Now we do need some bling, and again, I'm using another bling. I like to have the bling. I hope you guys are collecting bling too. With each of my card classes that I mail out, when you have a $50 order for the week, you're getting a full pack of bling, you're getting a full pack of ribbon. I'm giving you lots of good stuff. So if you're carding with me, if you're shopping with me and getting card kits with me, you might have some great bling at home that you're like, ooh, I have that one already. I could use it on these kits. And if not, and you really love it, of course you can order it. They're all in the catalogs. So there we go, just like that. I think that's beautiful. Now this again was a different bling. This was the Iridescent Pastel Gems. Really love this one. This one comes in 3 colors. You've got a bluish tone, more of a clear tone, iridescent, and then obviously this one goes really well with Cajun Craze. It goes good with Calypso Coral. All of those blushy colors are so pretty. All right, so let's grab out all of the cards and look at all of them together here real quick. So let's see here. We have, I gotta find them all. That was that card. Then we had the Thanks So Much card. And then we had the Cutie Pie card. Aren't they beautiful cards? Now again, card kits, you're making 2 of each. So you have this whole set at home to craft with, use whatever stamps you want. If you don't want to do pumpkins, you can switch them up. But I hope that you love them. I would love to know which one's your favorite. I would love to know that. I really like the last card because I love the vanilla pumpkin. And Lori says she's done some heat embossing, which is awesome. Oh, Sandra, hi. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you like the ivory pumpkins. Isn't that cool? It was like, I don't know if I didn't shop around to look to see if anybody else was doing that idea. It popped into my head, like I wanted to do ivory pumpkins and how could I make them really stand out? So I thought I would try white embossing powder and white paper and see what happened. And then of course I had to tint it just a little bit to make it stand out a little bit better. I love that you guys are loving these cards. Hi. Oh, hi Rhonda. Hi from the Cape. Hi Patty. The last one. Yes, they are pretty. I like these cards. Final card. The final card was like the grand finale of the card class tonight. So that is our class. How did we do on time? We went a little bit over. The last card was kind of in depth. The first 2 cards were pretty easy. It was simple stamping and punching. Lori likes number 2. That was the simple one. That was the Charlie Brown Tree one. I really like that one too. I wanted to do showcase the stamp set that's all about pumpkins, but in a non-pumpkin way. So I think I covered it pretty good. I love the colors I chose because they're not like orange and black. I'm not ready to jump into Halloween. Fall is awesome and autumn, so I kind of tiptoeing in. We're gonna tiptoe through the leaves together. So if you love the class and you want to get these kits at home, you just place your order this week. If you need help with that, just let me know. Leave some comments or message me. And I'm so glad you joined me for some time tonight. Now remember, one of these cards is going to be my color swap card. We're not done playing with color yet. We continue to play with color. So you'll see something on Wednesday over on Positive Paper Crafters, and then you get to vote again. You get to vote whichever card I color swap out. You get to see who wore it better. Oh, thanks, Linda. She likes the Vellum hints. Absolutely. Vellum is fabulous. And as we head into the Christmas season, I think it's a time really to showcase those vellums and specialty papers to make your cards even more beautiful. So I'm glad that that little vellum trick, some of those vellum tricks worked well for you. All right, everybody, I'm going to sign off. Continue to leave comments as you're watching. If you're watching replay, hi, replay friends. And I'm going to pop this over on YouTube. So hi, my friends on YouTube. And I will be back Wednesday with Positive Paper Craft or Color Swap. You'll see more from me this week on Facebook from the Pick of the Patch set. And of course on Thursday I will be coming in Thursday at 3 with something fun to show you. So I hope to see you guys then. If you have any questions, leave them, and I will see you guys soon. Until next time, stay inspired, create something beautiful, and share the love. Bye everybody.